Okay, hello world, and welcome back to the Brothers Blue podcast. With that being said, today we are going to be talking about the gig economy. Um, and actually, one thing I'll share real quick is most of the source material that we looked at was like negative reporting about the gig economy. But I wanted to leave it to be said on air about the positives that I find from the gig economy. So we will get into that. And so, with that being said, that is Brother Kyle.
And that is Brother Cody. And to get us started, I'll just be reading the definition from the good old Google, and it says the gig economy is a growing economic system where people work on demand, often through digital platforms. It includes activities like driving for delivery, selling goods online, or renting out property. And so that is again, just like Google definition and the four types of gig workers that we are going to start off this conversation with come from the good old WEF. And that is number one, free agents, number two, casual earners, number three, reluctance, and number four, the financially strapped. So, do you want to get us started?
So, before we move on to the four types of gig workers, I wanted to say something about the definition because you put that out there. Um, again, in any definition that you find the gig economy, it will explain or mention digital platforms. And I think that's one part of the inevitability that we've talked about of the gig economy. The inevitability of its presence in late stage capitalism. But it also has a necessity to it because it's done through digital platforms, which is, taking over our world. So
Yeah.
that's the definition, the part that I wanted to talk about. And then
Well,
Kyle
yeah,
mentioned,
and like the other, like it's pervasive, it's ubiquitous, it's
yes.
inevitable. Yeah.
There are not a lot of good adjectives when it comes to the gig economy. But I will say I don't hate it, and it hasn't been the worst for me personally. But also, I've just been lucky as a millennial in my employment trajectory over time, and we've had this conversation as well on different subjects. Like I've just had luck with employment as a millennial in comparison to most people of my generation. Recently, I've been having to take part in the gig economy, and I've been enjoying it. Like I've still been enjoying it. So yeah.
Yeah, and it's literally like the first time you've done it, and we're a little
Yeah.
older than we look at 37 years of age. The
Right.
fact that you've had the professional career you've had is sort of what you're alluding to. Yeah.
So Kyle talked about the four types, and basically we have this. Oh dang, I had it, but now I don't. There it is. Um, Things generally don't happen in a vacuum, and the reason I want to bring that up is because of these four types that are listed and that Kyle went over. I kind of like don't fall into each category depending on like where I am personally, um, like my preferred choice would be regular like salaried income, so it's not my preferred choice. It is supplemental income, but right now it's my primary. It's recently become my primary income. So yeah, it's all very kind of murky for each individual.
No, I'm sorry, it's not, because literally that's so funny. The point I wanted to make is I literally fall into the category of financially strapped. I do
Yep.
it out of necessity as a supplemental income.
Yep.
I wanted to mention Andrew and say, from what I know about his situation, it is his primary income, and he does it out of necessity.
So he's a reluctant.
So it's not really murky for me and him.
So he's a reluctant.
Yes, he's a reluctant, and I would put myself in the financially strapped category.
Okay.
That's all.
Yep, because you do it out of necessity and it is your supplemental income. Yeah, and you're right. And so you fall into that category. And actually, I've been working shifts recently through Upshift, and I've had several shifts with this guy named Frank. We work really well together. He's got long blonde hair and a really long beard. He's a pretty cool dude. And he would thoroughly fall into the free agents category because this is what I didn't tell you. And this is what's super interesting about this guy. He's been doing gig work for about a year and a half now. And previously, he was an industrial engineer. He has a bachelor's degree in industrial engineering. And he literally he was like, I didn't want to be a part of a corporate ladder. So I stopped, and I've been doing this for like a year and a half now. Based off of, he has a friend who lives in Cleveland who does this as a free agent. So yeah.
Maybe this explains why they make up 30%.
Yeah.
That is the number. I looked at this whole thing and I was like drilling down on it, and I was looking at that 30% figure.
That's a big one.
Agents, and I was like, dude, what?
Because I didn't know they were that prevalent, but I just met one.
Okay, and like we'll get into I'll just bring up the millennial thing because that's on another chart. But like millennials make up such a massive percentage of gig workers.
Yeah, it's like 45%. So
yeah, it's crazy.
Did you want to move on from the four types?
Yeah, and so that's really. I basically made all those points, but the only other point I really wanted to make was about the self-employment tax thing, and that's obviously that's the idea that like gig workers are supposed to be responsible for allocating 20 to 25% of their profits and so like they use the word allocate and profits, and I think budget and income are much more like realistic, and so these are like the things that like kids need to be taught in economics class,
right?
And,
yeah. No, and you're right, because if you replace allocate right there with budget, that in the U.S. budget 25% of their income, not profits, for federal taxes. Yeah. So I'm looking at exactly what you wrote down, and it's just on point. And that's a further implication and example of just why our tax code sucks so much. And so like if I actually was running for office, or like there was a specific issue that I was trying to stand on, obviously we know it's abortion. That's my first thing. But I really think tax reformation should be on like the forefront of everyone's mind, because everyday Americans are overtaxed and Elon Musk isn't taxed at all. Like,
yeah, our tax code is just unnecessarily complicated.
Yes, there's that, and then it's also just entirely unfair.
But yeah,
and so this is the other thing too, is the whole "Make America Great Again." You know when America was great? When we had the highest corporate tax levels in history.
Yeah. The only shitty thing about when we were best off economically in the 50s and 60s,
we were not very socially progressive. I know.
That's all. So those definitely were like the right economic policies, and like
Correct.
honestly, even like LBJ's Great Society economic
Yeah.
policies. I
Yeah.
won't get into all that, but yeah,
Right.
like
Yeah. Good stuff. Okay, so you talked about that quote, and then people understand living paycheck to paycheck or gig to gig.
yeah,
Yeah.
no, that actually goes into kind of wrapping up that point. Is that like, dude, how am I supposed to save 20 to 25% of my pay when I
Right.
need that money to literally pay my phone bill, my insurance, my
Right.
mortgage? Like, we're living from paycheck to paycheck or gig to gig, and it's
Dude,
untenable.
I personally feel like I'm living from bill to bill.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, how do I pay this? I
Yeah.
literally know exactly what you're talking about because, yeah,
Because I'm like,
right now,
okay,
it's
so
like
within the next 5 days, I need to try to figure out how to make my car payment, my mortgage, my water, and my electricity.
so
So,
the like crazy thing I haven't told you about is that my card or my account was frauded the other night, and I caught it like that. But they cancel your card like
yeah.
immediately, so my card's not working, and so I don't know if my electricity bill went through because it's attached to that card. And yeah,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, exactly. Well, and it's not like they're going to turn it off or anything, but
No.
like I
Yeah.
like to be on top of my bills. Yeah, and
Yeah,
so
totally.
d- late stage capitalism. So
Let's not go there.
uh, I think we might have to because aren't we wrapping it up there? Oh no, should we get into the
Yeah.
favorite slash memorable gigs?
Yeah, so why don't you get started on that idea, because so this is the short segment where we get to talk about the positive aspects of the gig economy. And that's because I think you and I have both actually been lucky enough to enjoy the positive aspects of the gig economy.
Yeah. Okay. So again, I'll just get us started. The first note that I had, and maybe you haven't worked a whole lot of sporting events, have you?
No, but
Yeah.
no, I haven't.
Okay. So I worked multiple Broncos games at Sports Authority Field when it was still
Yeah,
called that.
yeah.
Uh, and yeah, dude, I worked in the suites, I worked concessions, I worked all over that place. Just Broncos games, like all season long. And then here I worked a Phoenix Rising game, and like they were soccer games are crazy.
I've
Uh,
heard that.
yeah, so like, and so those are the sporting events that I've worked, and working sporting events is really fun. And one of the perks that I've gotten through the gig economy. And I guess the only other thing that I would say is the best job I ever worked was that 20-person played. It was a private dinner where basically like I was a bartender serving like palomas
Mhm.
and like yeah, like a couple specialty drinks. And like it was literally like 20 people, and I was the bartender. There was a chef, and there was a server, like the person handing out hors d'oeuvres, and then the person that did the plated dinner. And I helped them do the plated dinner. And it was in a mansion, and like I was making like 25 an hour,
Nice.
and they tipped us out. Like it was literally just like the best job I ever worked. It was awesome.
Yeah. Something that we didn't mention that I did actually want to talk about, or just kind of mention, is the fact that you kind of brought it up, is that I recently have been forced into taking part of the gig economy. That's why I don't fit in one of those four boxes. You, Andrew, and that guy Frank that I work with, sure, you guys might, but I don't. I'm just saying I don't. Um, Besides that, you and I are like dead center millennials. Like we are millennials, and like you've been working in the gig economy for over 10 years.
Yeah, I literally just talked about working those Broncos games. That
Yeah.
was when Peyton Manning was
Yeah.
playing for the Broncos.
Right.
Yeah,
Right. Who's been retired for several years.
yeah. That just gives you an idea. Again, a little bit older than we look. Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. But no, the millennials and the gig economy are so intertwined. It's crazy. Oh, and actually,
It
let's look.
said that's one of the things. Yeah.
Yeah, hold on. After we finish the conversation about the positive things, we should go back to the charts on the article. So yeah,
Okay.
we'll do that. But I am gonna. So I have recently been forced into working through Upshift, which is like Quick. Kyle uses Quick. I use Upshift. This is what I was also going to say is nowhere in any of those articles could I find any mention of hospitality work.
It
I looked for it.
in one of the charts it says, excuse me, wow, professional services. Yeah.
That's the category that I think it would fall under. I agree.
Because I know exactly what you're saying.
All right.
And
Hold on though.
I'm pretty sure we fall, or Quick would fall squarely into that.
All right, come on, man. So we were talking about good experiences, and so I recently have worked at the Carnegie Science Center, the Omni William Penn Hotel in downtown Pittsburgh, the University of Pittsburgh. I worked their 238th birthday, and that would have been an event that you would have loved. And I'm going to show you why. So I made this post on Facebook, and I said, so in the last few weeks, I've been forced in the gig economy, and I've been working in some pretty cool places, doing pretty cool events. The Law Alumni Happy Hour, Black History Celebration, a bar mitzvah at the Carnegie Center. And so that's this picture right here, but we'll get started. So the Carnegie Science Center had this bar mitzvah for Benji, and that was the view just outside. So, that was awesome. I got to go out there and hit my vape pen a few times. This was the happy hour for law alumni. So it was literally just lawyers upon lawyers upon lawyers at these tables, and then a bunch of law students attending the event. And I ran the buffet over here. Sorry, bro. And then this was the view from the William Penn Hotel. Awesome view. And it was nice and wintry. Dude, this document was from 1891. And it was this guy's math notebook from the University of Pittsburgh. Awesome. Just awesome. This was Black history people in the state of Pennsylvania. That was the event that I worked. It was this lady won this award, actually. Yeah. So anyways, she won an award. I went to the philosophy department because I was helping these guys. And then that was the hotel again. The really nice one. Tabletop puzzle, bar mitzvah, stuff like that. All right. Thanks for letting me go off on that one. Did it look like fun?
I just want to throw this out there before we get into the more negative stuff again, because seriously, just as an example of how awesome just doing gig service work the way I've been doing for the last 10 years.
Right.
Literally a month ago, I worked probably the most high profile event. The security just getting into it was ridiculous, but it was Charlie Kirk's Turning Point USA America Fest.
Right.
Trump was there. Cenk Uygur was there. So that's what's crazy is I literally just went there and bartended one day, and our drink was called the Red Wave, and it was just vodka, cranberry, and soda, like a Cape Cod, basically. And yeah, so like again, I did that like 2 months ago. If anybody is on, that side of things, you guys should probably know about Charlie Kirk's America Fest.
Yes.
And it happened in Phoenix at the convention center, and I went and bartended one of the days, only one, but it was great. Like I made good money, I got good
Right.
tips, and people were nice. It was awesome. Yeah.
And so it reminds me of, and this is somewhat not fair because, sorry, my phone's ringing for some reason. Let me stop that. But the event that I worked at the Chadwick, which was not gig work because I worked there as a full-time employee, but it was Dr. Peter McCullough. And like literally I went into like the room when he was like on the stage speaking, and it was like the most anti-trans rhetoric you've ever heard. And like I was just like, oh, this is fun. So then I walked out. But anyways, yeah, that's all I'm saying. It's like I'm not gonna not work the event, you know.
I had a great time working America Fest.
Yeah, I talked to Dr. Peter McCullough, so yeah. If you don't know who he is, he's an anti-vax COVID hoax guy, and so yeah, that's it. That's who he is. Um, but did you want to talk about the different charts?
No, not really. I said everything I wanted to say about them. Did you have something you wanted to say?
Hold on. Well, no. Yeah, I mean, hold on.
Because again, yeah, it was like the millennials thing, and
Right.
yeah.
Well, I'll just say something real quick on each of them, since we brought them up, and that's the other thing is this World Economic Forum article is not a boogeyman article. It's pretty much just them putting together research on a specific topic, and so I was looking at this chart and over here in the section where it says subsectors included, I was looking for anything that said or referenced to hospitality work, because that's what you and I do exclusively. I would never, ever work for Uber or any DoorDash or anything that made me use my vehicle. Like, I just don't understand that.
Yeah. I'm sorry, but like I'm pretty sure Quick falls squarely into the category of professional services.
Okay. And so I probably would agree with you. But again, it says business work, micro work, design, tech coding, wire, writing, translation, and administrative. It doesn't say anything about hospitality. That's all I'm saying.
I mean,
No, you're right, though. If you had to put it into a category, it would probably be professional services.
yeah, I uh I feel like I don't hear the term hospitality used a lot, so
Oh, well, okay.
I wouldn't
What
I
would you
wouldn't
just
I wouldn't describe Quick as a hospitality service app, but
so what would you
we'll get
call the
into the
industry?
semantics later.
What would you call the industry? Service?
Yeah, just sir, it's literally a professional service. That's what bartending is.
Yeah, so that's the thing is like, but back of house is different. Generally, people don't talk about back of house jobs as service jobs. Just saying.
Yeah.
Again,
Okay.
just saying.
Yep. Yeah. No, you're right. But it's still like, dude, I would
Yep.
consider a prep cook like very
Even
professional.
more. Yeah, even more of a professional. Yeah, I agree actually. So, anyways, we'll go on to this last one, and it just kind of proves the point. 45.
Yeah, that was crazy.
45% of the gig economy is made up, or gig workers is made up of millennials. I thought Gen Z would be higher than Gen X, but I think that's just a indicator of who's in the workforce currently. Whoops. I think currently there are more people from Gen X in the workforce than there are Gen Z. So that number might change over the next 10 to 15 years.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I was looking at yeah. Almost certainly the gig economy is growing,
Right.
or whatever. Yeah, I don't know.
And I think that's also indicative. I think millennials make up the largest group of people in the workforce right now.
Yeah, obviously. Well, not obviously, but yes, I think you're right.
Makes sense as of where we are in the timeline.
If you know how numbers work. Yeah. So the last point I have for my notes is the late stage capitalism stuff, which I guess I could probably just save for our next conversation about capitalism. Because really, I guess I'll just say it quickly. But that's the thing, the gig economy, licensing fees, medical debt, student debt, the housing crisis, like the food insecurity, like all these things are late stage capitalism, but that is a conversation for another time.
So, in your little rant, I like two things specifically: student debt and food insecurity, because like I put them together and I'm like, okay, why does a 12-year-old have student lunch debt? Like, why is that a thing in the world? Why?
I only laugh because of how absurd it is.
A 12-year-old gets denied school lunch because his account is negative. What?
What?
I don't get it.
Yeah.
So
Late
yeah.
stage capital. No, sorry. We'll have
No, and I saw this thing that it was like, oh, teachers should make $70,000 a year, and students should get free lunch and breakfast, and start at 10 a.m. Yeah, it's like, oh, all right.
Yeah, let's overhaul the Department of Education that way.
Not just get rid of it. Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Right.
So, with that being said,
Knowledge is power.